What happens when some furries fight to the death? You get Sonic Battle, of course. You also probably get a weird fanfiction. But that's not what we're talking about today. Sonic the Hedgehog has been around for many years now. He's had a huge amount of games released throughout the years. I mean, who could possibly forget the Sonic X Leapster game from back in the day? That game was a classic!
It's Eggman's Super Sucky Machine!
For real though, Sonic has had a ton of games released ever since the series first began. And while not every game was great, looking at you, Secret Rings, I enjoyed playing through a majority of them. One thing's for sure though, Sonic has had a ton of spin-off games released. He got the Riders games, the All-Stars Racing games, and even a fishing game on mobile devices. I'll be honest, I had no clue this was ever a thing until recently. What does this game even have anything to do with Sonic? Aside from his name being on the title, what, did he just wake up one day and was like, oh man, I'm bored. Time to go fishing! Can I come? What, you? Okay, I'm getting off topic here, but one of the spin-off games that always had a special place in my heart was Sonic Battle on the Game Boy Advance. This was a pseudo 3D fighting game where multiple characters fought in an arena and the last person standing wins. It was a pretty fun game and had a pretty good amount of characters to play as. It even had 4-player multiplayer, so you can play with your friends too. Unfortunately, this game never got a re-release or sequel of any kind, which really sucks because it was a pretty fun game. I mean, just imagine a sequel with more modern characters like Silver, Blaze, or even Sage. Now, why am I talking about this game today? Well, I feel like it's pretty forgotten about nowadays, and I wanted to take a look back at it and review it to see if it still holds up to this day. So let's go ahead and review Sonic Battle on a Game Boy Advance. Off the bat, I gotta say, this title screen is fire. Get it? Fire. Because there's fire on the title screen here. Wait, is that supposed to be Sonic's head? Is his head on fire or something? Anyway, it's in the game access, and put a name for our file. And I find it kind of hilarious how whenever you select something, it sounds like a gunshot. Anyways, let's start off by jumping into game story mode. Now this game plays out similarly to the adventure games of Heroes, where you play through multiple character stories, and once you beat them all, you unlock one last story where you take on the final boss. There's 8 stories to play from, one for Sonic, Tails, Rouge, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, Shadow, and a new character, Emerald. And as you play onto the game stories, you unlock the other stories. You start off with Sonic's story being the only one available, so let's start with that and see what it's like. The first thing we see is Dr. Eggman beating up a robot.
Shoot!
Turns out this robot is called a Gizoid, which was created by an advanced civilization of beings who made a Gizoid into a weapon of mass destruction. However, the Gizoid ended up becoming so powerful that it ended up destroying the civilization itself, and then disappeared for many years, until it was found by Professor Gerald Robotnik, who researched it and feared how powerful it was. It was then forgotten about for many years, until Dr. Eggman found it and wanted to use his power for evil. But that doesn't end up working, so Eggman throws the Gizoid away into the ocean, where it ends up washing up on a beach, and Sonic ends up finding it. He names the Gizoid Emerald and takes him to Tails' house, so he can figure out what he is. Also, why on earth does Tails' house look like his head? Nice place you got here. Anyways, before we enter Tails' house, we end up running into Shadow, who demands Sonic to hand over Emerald. You also get the chance to make a decision here, but these decisions aren't really that big of a deal. They don't really change the game too much, and there's not that many throughout the game. Sonic refuses, and then the two of them fight, and now we get to start playing the game. Right at the start of the battle, you get to choose how you want to fight. You get 3 options of special attacks. You got Shot Attack, which gives you a long-range attack, Power, which gives you a direct attack, and Set/Trap, which lets you place an explosive trap down that launch your opponent up into the air, and deal damage to them. You also got Ground, Aerial, and Guard attacks, which can help you perform combos and deal good damage against your opponent. There's also some other abilities like Healing, where you hold the guard button down, and this makes your character slowly heal themselves. This also will increase your special attack bar, but it's incredibly slow, so make sure you're in a safe area where your opponent is dead before doing this. Then there's the guard mechanic. This kinda sucks. In order to block an attack, you have to have perfect timing, because the characters only block for about 1 second, then they'll drop their guard. I'd much rather have it where you hold the button down and continue blocking, like in most other fighting games. But the main reason why it's like this in the game in the first place is because this is a Game Boy Advance game, and there's not that many buttons available. Having guard and healing on the same button is kind of frustrating. Having nearly all the attack commands on one button is even worse! Honestly, it would have been way better if this game was put on consoles rather than a GBA. Playing a fighting game like this with so few buttons is not that much fun. You know what is fun though? Using your special attacks on your opponent. Each character has a special attack that's referenced by a bar above your health. Once it's full, you can unleash a one-hit KO move that will completely destroy your opponent. Your opponent can also use this move, so be careful. Another thing I want to talk about here is the game's balancing. Wow, is it bad. Some characters like Shadow or Cream feel so OP, while some other characters like Tails are completely useless. There's also some pretty OP moves that you can use to cheese your opponents, like Rouge's flying kick move or Amy's hammer tornado. You can match these moves for days and pretty much destroy anyone. But then the game's AI will also match these moves, and then you get really upset about it.
You're kidding me!
Then it's this game's inconsistent difficulty levels. Some fights are super easy, while others are nearly impossible. Like the one-on-one fights in the game story modes are mostly easy, but then you got fights where it's 3 against 1, or fights where it's required not to lose a single life, or even worse, win a fight against multiple opponents without taking any damage at all!
What the fuck is that?
My gosh, is this frustrating. And what makes it even worse is the fact that you'll be doing these exact same fights constantly on every character's story in this game. Heck, lots of times in the game's story, you'll be challenged to a fight by a character, and will have to kill him 5 times in order to win and progress. But then immediately after that, you'll be challenged to a rematch, but now you have to kill him 10 times. Why does this game do this? It's so repetitive and annoying, and it honestly makes playing through all the story modes such a hassle. Heck, back in the day, I was doing a playthrough on this game, but I stopped halfway through because I got so bored playing through the exact same fights over and over again. This has got to be one of the most repetitive sequences I've ever experienced in a Sonic game. And that's saying a lot when the series makes you play through Green Hill Zone over and over again constantly. Not to mention some of the attacks in this game are just way too overpowered. Like take Gamma here for instance. Though I question how he's even in this game in the first place, considering he died at the end of Sonic Adventure. After you drain all of his health, he has a self-destruct move that can almost one-shot kill you. And that's total BS. That move also has insane range, so your best bet is to block it. I should probably mention how some moves have ridiculous hitboxes. I can't tell you how many times I was doing a fight and shouted, "How did that hit me?" Now one of the main focuses on this game is the character Emerald himself. As you play on through the game, you'll be teaching him how to fight and become stronger. Heck, each character's story revolves around that particular character looking after Emerald and showing him how to fight. Wait, did he just call Amy mommy?
I'll be your mommy.
Yes, even 6-year-old Cream shows him how to fight. She's more violent than you think.
I'm so happy I want to kill everyone!
As you complete matches, you'll unlock attack commands that let you use certain character attacks, and you can equip it to Emerald. For instance, you can give him Sonic's basic attacks, but use Tails' special moves, and give him Rouge's flying kick move, along with Knuckles' gliding ability. It's pretty cool really, and you can make him super OP. But keep in mind, at the beginning of the game, he's going to be extremely weak and slow. And playing as him during these parts is about as much fun as drinking expired milk you find in the back of a refrigerator. He's just so stinking slow, and trying to beat a mission when you're this pathetic is horrible. He's weak for a pretty long time too. In order to give him more skills, you'll need to earn skill points, which are awarded at the end of a battle. But getting these points is pretty annoying. You can get 10 points if you get Chaos Emerald, but a lot of times you'll be getting only 5, 2, or 1 points. Now if you played flawlessly, you'll get 5 points. But if you played alright, you'll get 2 points. But sometimes you only get 1 point, which is so freaking annoying. You need a ton of these things in order to lock just basic attacks. So trying to make Emerald stronger is so freaking awful. You'll be using him a ton too, which yeah, at the beginning, is annoying. Then there's the stages themselves. I don't like them very much. Most of them are pretty much the exact same stage, but with different color palette or textures. In the background, it's just one big color. There's nothing interesting at all in these stages, and it makes me wish this game was made into a 2D fighter like Sonic the Fighters. It also doesn't help that you're using a D-pad to move around a 3D space. Gee, thanks GameBoy Advance. I'd also like to mention the game's music. It's such a disappointment. Sonic music is usually known for being amazing, but this game's soundtrack is crap. And then there's the annoying sound effects. They're everywhere in this game. I mean, the Xbox sound effect is played constantly in the story mode, and my god is it annoying. There's also loads of other sound effects that sound like they've been ripped straight out of a Looney Tunes cartoon. Man, who knew Sonic Chronicles sound design would be inspired by this game? Honestly, the best part about Sonic Battle is without a doubt the story. The story itself is really well written, and all the characters are great. Except Amy. She kinda acts like a major brat in this game. Heck, she basically gets high at one point and starts hallucinating Sonic with her, and then you fight her and the Sonic hallucination too! What are you smoking, Amy? The game does have some hub worlds too, but they're really nothing that special. You mainly just walk around a bit and click on where you need to go. I'd have to say my favorite part of the game was Emerald's story. At that point, you become really powerful and you fight Dr. Eggman. But then Emerald goes berserk, so you play as Sonic and have to beat him down. Which is sad because at this point you've been through so much together and worked so hard to make him strong. Sonic ends up winning and Emerald is badly damaged and he ends up dying. And Sonic contains the Chaos Emerald inside of him and reminds everyone that as long as he has this Emerald, Emerald will always be with him. The ending was really sad, but also really beautiful. So yeah, in the end, Sonic Battle wasn't the best game in my opinion. Yeah, it had a great story and the characters were all great, but the repetitive and unbalanced gameplay made it feel really frustrating to play. It's sad because this game has so much potential to be good, but it unfortunately ended up becoming a big letdown. Hopefully someday we'll get a new official Sonic fighting game, or even a sequel to Battle, but for now, just play the fan-made game Sonic Smackdown. It's way better than this piece of crap.